Well, hello, everyone. Lunchtime, seeing if anybody can join us for a little discussion. But I had some time to, I guess, sleep on some of my thoughts around how to set this league up. And it also made me realize that, you know what? I did not own probably two-thirds of the 1880 and the 1890s from Action. Pretty much everything 1900 up to 2022 I own. So I'm like, hey, it's a great time. They got a sale going on. I went ahead and grabbed those missing seasons, loaded them in, and I thought, man, I can start importing and creating some of these teams and getting them going. So, for those of you that may be just tuning in for the first time, I've put my Negro League project on hold just for a bit. I've got 401 players done because we're getting ready to start one of the greatest draft leagues I could ever think of. And big thanks to Todd B, who came up with this idea. But basically, what it is, we're going to have an all time greats league. We've got 12 teams so far, and we are getting close to the end of the draft. What makes this unique is we are using every season 1880 and all the leagues, including Federal League, American Association, AL National League, all the way up to 2022. And what we decided to do is let's let a random generator spit out a year when it's your turn to draft, and then you have to go and draft a player from that year. And that year's card will be used in the game. We're going to use Action PC, and that'll be our game engine. And it's been really fun because what it's shown is there's some strategy involved. The other requirement is instead of being Hall of Fame teams only, we decided to limit each team with only 5 Hall of Famers. So that makes it really challenging, right? And building your teams, a lot of strategy involved here as we build out our rosters. What we've decided to do is have 30-man rosters where 25 will be active. We'll have a 5-man injured reserve or an inactive list to use. But when we get through rounds 23, we're going to pivot over and have a 2-round draft of the Negro League players using the file that I'd put together with about 401 players. We'll be able to build out our rosters and have 2 Negro League players. Now, any of them in the Hall of Fame won't count towards the 5 limit, but that's just kind of a little rundown. This has just been a great approach to the draft. I took some time a little bit last night and early this morning to put together just kind of a blank league and start assembling what the league would look like. And I know Beatles asked if I might have some thoughts around, what era we set things in and ballparks and things like that. So I thought, hey, let me get it in here and start thinking about that. And I thought I'd come on today for anybody that's going to pop up. We've got somebody out there in chat, not sure who it is out there, but welcome aboard. And I just thought I'd talk through some of the options that we're going to have to resolve with this draft on how we want to approach it. So we've got 6 teams in each division. So if we look at our roster screen here, you can see I've just got the names in there as placeholders. And what I did was took our list and I fired up a random generator and just went through and assigned numbers. And this is the 2 divisions of teams that I assembled with that. So we could call this, we'll call it Division 1 and Division 2 for now, but we can put some names in there later. And you can see the names of the folks in the league right here. I started importing because it's a very manual process, but it goes by fairly quick on Action where you can just open up that roster and start importing the actual player from that specific year that you want. So I just finished my team. I've got 4 teams done. You can see I got Beatles, his team, the 21 players he's drafted so far here. We can take a look at his pitching staff. And again, what's great about the new Action is we hit bio and anybody wants to know, hey, what year is that for Stan Musial? You can see with this all-time greats league, it'll show us right here on this page the year that's being used. And we can see that a couple hometown picks here with Andy Van Slyke and Andrew McCutcheon for Beatles, who is a Pirate fan. I did notice that. But it's been a rather fun draft. And I know, I think we're going to pick this up tomorrow night and try to finish the three remaining rounds. Well, I guess it's just two more remaining rounds for the major league grades. And then we'll go into rounds 24 and 25, select two Negro League players each. Then we'll come back and do a 5-person supplemental where we add 5 more players so that we can have that inactive roster or injured roster to work off. Midlife crisis? Glad you're here, as he's driving home from work. Just explain a little bit about this league and how we're set up. And I have I've already found a schedule from 1973 that I use that matches up great for like an AL or NL 162 game season. And I was able to upload that. I'll probably have to delete the other league we're not going to use, so I'll play around a little bit more with that. But you can see here, if we go into the schedule, um, it's set to kick off on the 5th, and that would be Sports Time Machine against JT Dutch. And then you can see they'll be the premier opening day game, right? And then you can see here the ones that didn't get populated would be for the other league, which I'll probably get rid of since we're only running a 12-team league here. So anyway, it'll allow us to follow along with a real. I'm voting absentee, about to leave for work. That's perfect, Robbie. Just kind of talking through some of the things to think about as we get the league set up, and got a couple rosters built in here to share. One thing that I've got set up here in rules so far happens to be around general. I think we've decided with a league this deep and so many great batters that we are going to go DH on this league. So we've got that set up. I think I'll need to change this to 162 because we'll be using a schedule that matches 162. But just some of the things that I was going through here just to kind of test rosters. Opening day 25, September 30th, maybe we can go up to 30, something to think about. Usage penalties, have to be a discussion as well. And midlife crisis is, what year is this league being normalized to? We do not know. So we have several options. One would be pick a year. So what year would we assign it to, right? We'd have to pick an actual American or National League right there. We could also do cross-era historical, which is basically if you took all the data in all time of baseball and averaged it, it would be a historical average that we could play in. Or we could pick a specific year for a style of play, or we could allow the batter and pitcher matchup to control that. And when we do that, if you got a 1920 batter and a 1968 pitcher, it'll take those two eras they come from, average those two eras for that batter pitcher matchup, and use that table to calculate the result. So really, we've got 3 options, right? Just a general average, find a year in a league that we really like, and that's the style, or we let each batter pitcher matchup bring both of the universes they come from and be average for that each batter pitcher interaction. So that's something we'll have to figure out. Let's see what else we've got here to discuss. Just some of the basic settings there. This is the Howie Shanks Bingo League. That's kind of the name we've come up with it. And take a look at one of the rosters here. MV, take a look at MV. Got his 21 players here. What's nice now with the action game is getting them built this way is you can see the positions they're rated to play and their fielding range rating, which is kind of a nice view as you start assembling the team and figure out what slots. I notice MV does not have a catcher. He's got some good fielders. He's got a gold glove at short and a gold glove at first with Gehrig. Let's take a look at MV's pitching staff. Midlife says, yeah, you could vote on historical. That way the draft could have been affected if you knew the year in advance. Yeah. And that's going to be funny because we're going to determine it afterwards. So we have no idea what we're going to do, but it will be interesting to see if they want to go historical. That may be a good way to approach it. The other thing is figuring out what parks we play in. So what I think we're going to do is let each player pick an actual major league park, and then I had the idea of, if somebody picks Fenway, then we pull up a random generator from all the years of Fenway and let that determine which year the ballpark factors will be used. So that's something to think about as well, because it can vary year to year. Or we could let somebody pick their ballpark and then select the ballpark the year they want to use, right? We could approach that either way. Throw some randomness in, or we could let them do their own research and look at all the ballpark that and maybe, pick a year where home runs were more favorable or the opposite, because there's always pros and cons to that. So that will be something to look at as well. So if we look at MV's team he's got here, you can see he's got some decent pitching. He's got Rube Waddell. So we categorize it by their walks and hits per inning pitch. He just picked up Vita Blue late into the draft. He got 1971 had been hanging out there, and nobody had drafted. Oh, the other thing I should point out is if a year comes up multiple times, that's fine. But once it's come up 3 times, we throw it out of the mix. That way, this kind of helps spread rosters throughout the years. And it's worked out really great because you can see in an all time greats league, this probably wouldn't be the first 21 players somebody would take. You got Joe Horland, Fred Goldsmith, Jack Glasscock, um, Josh Hamilton's on there, right? So the approach of not knowing what year you're going to get that round, we throw the year at you, and then we give everybody 5 minutes to do their research and come back with their pick. So it's really allowed for some variety amongst the teams. So been really fun. I'm in looking at this. The other thing is, you're only allowed 5 Hall of Famers, so there's some strategy. We're at round 21. I think I'm the only one left that has one more Hall of Fame slot. Yeah, in midlife, I agree. Yeah, you definitely got to know like who's good based on what year. But yeah, a historical average may be the way to go, or it's the batter pitcher matchup because that's going to change based on where you're from and who you're facing. So it's always kind of doing an average along the way. But I agree, it's tough if you throw it to a specific year. You can really kind of pinpoint it to a way that it may be really good or really bad for you. So MV's got his 5 Hall of Famers. Let's take a look and see who they are. Of course, you've got Gehrig and Joe Morgan on there. Some of the other ones that aren't Hall of Famers that he's able to pick up, right? Trout's not eligible, but Lefty O'Doul, that great year in Baker Bowl. Barry Bonds. Take a look at this Barry Bonds year and take a look at this OPS plus. He's got 303 OPS plus. It's just incredible. And that's going to cause some opposing teams some trouble. Almost 200 walks, smacking 46 home runs. That was just crazy back then. And if that's not bad enough, he's got a on base percentage machine right here. A 466 on base with Joe Morgan, who can steal 67 times. So this is another one where I can see some offense coming from MV's lineup. So you can see position wise, he's got Bill Dolan at short. Great year for him. He's got Trout out in center. Gehrig. So he's looking like he's putting together a pretty good team right here. Take a look at Beatles' team. And Beatles hasn't really rounded out his pitching staff completely yet, but you can see he's got Deacon Philippe, another Pittsburgh favorite. He's got Bucky Walters, Dizzy Trout. So he's got some uh, indicator I always love is the walk and hits per inning pitch, right? Anything you can get under one is pretty darn good season. We look at MV and his pitchers. He's got three that are under 1,000. Oh, MV is here. MV, I'm just walking through. I've put a few of the teams together. I'm just kind of walking through, telling people a little bit of history of how this league came to be, our approach, and I'm starting to assemble the teams because I thought, hey, let me give Beatles. I hope he doesn't mind. I'm not trying to step on his toes, but I picked up this morning the seasons I didn't have pre 1900, and now I've got them all. And I thought, let me start grabbing these players, bringing them onto teams, messing around with the league setup, get a schedule ready to go, and then start getting things assembled, right? So we're just admiring your team. So you've got three pitchers already here, MV, under 1,000 whip. So that's good, good indication. And let's take a look. I've got Big Clue, who's in the league. Let's take a look at Big Clue. Big Clue's got four of his pitchers that are under a one whip. And let's take a look at his batters. He's got Del Crandall, who's a Gold Glove, and this is what's fun is to be able to get him into this format within the game and kind of see what your fielding range is, what positions you need covered. So he's pretty set there defensively. He's got Dunlap at second base, um, who's great. He's got a 9 in Pete Reiser out here. He's got 8s at shortstop with LaJoy, Lajoie, and Trammell, and then at second base, Lajoie's 9. So he's got a pretty good team. Mickey Mantle a 7 out there. I've only got 4 teams created. Who else did I do? MV, Beatles. Oh, I've got mine in here. So take a look at mine when it comes to pitching. I'm kind of pitching heavy. If you can look, I have pretty much almost my entire team is under 1 in whip. So I can see already that my strength is in the pitching. As you can see, I got some good draws on the years. I ended up with 65 and was debating on who to take, and I went with and grabbed a Koufax because once somebody takes the player, they're gone. There's no doppelgangers in this league. So Gibson, I got 1968. You can see that great year. I picked up a reliever here, this Liam Hendricks. Look at the whip, 0.732. That's incredible. 14.3 strikes per 9. So hey, I've got one bullpen person set up, but this starting rotation here of Bob Gibson, Koufax, Mike Scott, his 1986 year, um, Gooden, and then I picked up Tony Mullane, who knows, I may have to turn him into a long reliever um, or what have you. But yeah, I'm feeling really good about this staff so far. My batters, I'm like, I'm a little all over the place, right? Because one of the things I've been doing is trying to hold on to this last Hall of Fame pick I have and see who I get. And I've got 2 more rounds to use it. And I'm going to have to pick here pretty soon. Um, I've got Willie Mays. I'm happy with that in center. I'm surprised at the 1954 Kluszewski, how high he's rated defensively, because you can see his OPS plus is great. 49 homers, batting 326. Um, Big bat here in 1972. I grabbed Dick Allen, even though I've got a first baseman in Kluszewski. I've got Allen there as the DH. He's definitely not something you. He's a liability in the field with a 4 rating. I've got Hornsby, who was my very first pick, and at second base, so he's a little above average at second. And look at this line. He's batting 380, 39 homers, a 1.1 OPS. So feeling really good about that. Picked up Ben Zobrist last night because I just thought, man, it's nice to have some bench depth, right? So there's a decent player that can play a lot of positions, so that was appealing to me. Got Buster Posey in 2012, and I jumped at that because it's a great um, OPS for that league in the 2012, and he's an 8 at catcher. He's got a 6 arm, I think. So picked up a couple other players. I don't know if they're going to be starters or end up coming off the bench, depending on who I get in my next rounds. Bob Musial with the 26 Yankees, and then Bob Johnson here, who's not very good out in the field, but as you can see right here, he can put up some good batting numbers there. So yeah, MV, I'm with you. If somebody starts and if one of these starters I have has a bad day, I definitely want to have my pen ironed out where I've got some good closers and some good middle relief. And that's where I think some of these old time pitchers that, you know, had 4 or 5 or 6 relief appearances could be really good in, long relief and if we have injuries. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have injuries turned on in the league. In fact, I'm almost guaranteed of that. It makes it so much more fun. A couple things to think about in the rules as our group determines how we want to set this up is right here, right? I figure, hey, catcher fatigue, which is realistic fatigue, which means, after so many games, I don't know if it's 10, 11, 12, based on how many they actually played, you'll need to rest the catcher. We can choose to turn that or on, right? Um, One other interesting thing, I don't know if people would go for it, but if we click on this alternate reality, yeah, we have DH and injuries, but think about this. If we want to add a real spark, we click on alternate reality and we have no idea how these people are going to really play out. Right now, if you look at if I've got Dwight Gooden as a starter, I'm probably not going to bench him because I know his numbers from that year are better than the next guys. But if you turn on alternate reality, the game throws a little bit of behind the scenes adjustment where they may stay the same or they may get a slight reduction or a slight increase in their ability for that year. And you have no idea. So that makes it realistic in that you kind of have to manage how they're performing throughout the year and make determinations on who's hot or not and sit them. Definitely I have not been in a league where we've used that or even played around with it, but it's cool to have that option. Um, Trying to think here. I will show MV. I've brought in the 1973 schedule. Let me go back to the organized schedule, and you'll see here, MV. I've imported the template I had that has 12 team divisions or leagues, I should say, or conferences, whatever we want to call it. And you can see here that if we use it, I've got one ready to go. April, it'll follow the 1973, I believe, National League schedule. So some of these games won't be a factor. I can get rid of those, but you'll see it's already assembled the game right here. So there on the 11th, JT Dutch will be my team, at my team there till the 13th. And then MV will come to town. So what I did, MV, and I don't know if everybody wants to keep this, but when I set up this file just to play around, I went ahead and I pulled up the rosters and then random numbered them into these two leagues right here. So this is the way I have it set up now. We could redraw and move them around if we want to, but this is how I've got it set up right now. So looking forward to building some more of the teams out. I don't think I've done Todd B's yet. No, I think I got mine done, and then I did MV. I did Beatles. Beatles has some, look at this. He's got a lot of his position players done, but he's got bench, great catcher. You got Pujols at 10 at first, DiMaggio in center, Dom DiMaggio, Mookie Betts in right. Um, just a real good bit of defense right there. I think Grote probably at short, just an average number, but and he's got Bachman. So let's hit second base. He's got the 4 rated Bachman. Who wouldn't want a 4 at second base? But he took quite a ribbing yesterday with Wally Bachman. Let's see what Wally's up to here. You can see he's got the lowest. Oh no, I guess Kid Nichols is a pitcher, but Bachman, not many runs created. You know what? Let's go take a look at this. Let's look at the league salaries because we've got all 24 teams I've built into here so far, and we can look at the actual values that are assigned from those seasons from the game to get an idea of who's got the highest payroll. Let's do that. Which one is that? Team salaries. Let's see what we get out of here. So if this isn't a sign, MV has the highest payroll, which is an indication of the talent he has on that team. Beatles has the lowest payroll, indicative of a Pittsburgh franchise, kind of, at the bottom of spending. But we'll see how this works out when I get everybody's built in here. Hopefully later tonight, MV's laughing. Hopefully later tonight, I'll get this built out, all the teams in here, because this is a really neat view within the game to see how your team stacks up. And it also gives you a good visual rather than just charting it on an Excel sheet like I've been doing of, just how the team looks. So let's dissect MV's team. Look at the on base. He's got several people over 400 on base. MV, you go up for reports, you're going to go up to organize or reports, and then you're going to go under league. And there you can see really cool stuff. But you can see team salaries, okay? And then you can do player salaries. So if we click on player salaries, we'll see of the 4 teams we've built in here, how your salary gets so high. And that's because bonds. And unbelievable. Look at Fred Dunlap. Lou Gehrig. There's another one of your players there. Oh, Mike Trout and Joe Morgan. So you can see you've got some really top tier talent from the years that you're bringing in, which isn't surprising because I know that Joe Morgan, as a second baseman with your team, to have Barry Bonds there hitting and Gehrig and Mike Trout and Mickey Mantle, come on. You got 4 power hitters and a guy like Morgan that you could put in a leadoff and get on base and steal bases. It's looking good for you there. Um, what's interesting now that I've looked at my draft picks, I think all of us maybe look back on one and maybe regret. I don't know. I've looked back on a couple and thought, oof, I had a strategy that I thought was great back in the early things, but as each round of the draft, you don't know the year you're going to be randomly assigned. You have no way to know whether waiting is good or bad. And I look back now and think, wow, I had some years where I should have maybe gone for a Hall of Famer that I really wanted because I've been kind of waiting um, to see. And MV knows this. I would love to get like 1913 Walter Johnson or like a 1905 or uh, uh, Christy Mathewson to throw on my staff. But I've got 2 more picks to use my 5th Hall of Famer up, and I'm going to have to make a decision here pretty quick. And I could use some Hall of Fame help at a couple positions here, which is pull up my team and you can see I really need a shortstop. I got Pete Browning that can play there um, and Zobrist that can back up, but I really need a full-time shortstop on the roster. I got Adrian Beltre, which I think was a great pickup. We look at him here in 2014 version, a 147 OPS. He's an 8 at third base. He's a great player. But I really need a shortstop. And that's what I'm going to have to make a decision here. If I get a year, and the key is what years will I get in these next 2 rounds to figure out, do I grab my shortstop um, or do I wait and get them in the Negro League draft? So rounds 24 and 25 will be the Negro League draft. I have a file set up for that where again we'll draw a year and then I've got player pools in like 5-year increments that we can go and draft. But you look at some big hitters out there like Josh Gibson and Turkey Stearns and of course a 10 rated second baseman in Bingo DeMoss. Let's take a look at MV if he's left room for a Bingo DeMoss to join that team. Let's just take a look. Well, he's got Joe Morgan. So if he brings Bingo DeMoss in, he plays one position, that's second. That's quite a dilemma for MV. Does that mean Joe Morgan becomes trade bait? Hmm, because we will have trades after we get done with the 30 total rounds of the draft. So, again, this is probably the most fun I've ever had in a draft league just because Todd B came up with a really, really cool approach, which is, um, you know, throwing random years out there. And then capping it at the Hall of Fame has allowed players that you normally wouldn't see in a 12-team all-time greats. You'd have it all stacked with Hall of Famers. But we've got, let's take a look at MVs here. He's got Al Rosen. I mean, if you've got a 12-team all-time greats, I'm going to safely say nobody would put Al Rosen on there with other third basemen. I mean, we have Pie Trainer that hasn't been taken, Home Run Baker, Brett, Boggs still out there. So it's really been a unique way to spread the pool that gets into this league in such a variety of ways, right? 1880 to 2022, and then some of us get years we could care, we don't even care for. I'll just put it that way. I think I've had 1883 a couple times, and I do not care for anything pre 1900, but I'm going to learn to love it because I got stuck with it. MV says his dual, yeah, lefty duel this season. Let's take a look at this. He's an over 1,000 OPS. And what can he play for you? He play left and right. He's not going to dazzle anybody in left field, but you got some options with the DH in the league, right? If you've got somebody else in left here like Barry Bonds, then you DH lefty duel against righties, and then maybe you find somebody else to bat righty against lefties. A lot of options in this league as we start really thinking about. Um, and Fred Goldsmith, let's take a look at Fred Goldsmith. Yeah, great player here. Not a pitch or a strikeout pitcher for sure. A little bit of a batter, right? Can he play anything else? Yeah, you can put him in center field or first base. He's got some action there, but 135 plus ERA. So 1880 was thrown MV's way, and guess what? He made the best of it and went and grabbed a player that probably would have never made it into a league like this. So I think a league like this has a lot of replayability. I'm even thinking about the next season. I'm even thinking about cool things like when we're done with this, could we take an approach like fantasy football where we do a keeper league, right? I mean, it'd be cool to say, okay, you can protect 3 players or 4 or whatever, and the rest go back into a pool, right? And then do you have a year and a player you want to keep? Or we could just completely say, hey, throw it all back in a pool. Let's do it all fresh over for the next year and just start from scratch. So I'm already thinking about years 2 and subsequent to that. This is such a replayable approach to a league. So many possibilities. And it looks to be very competitive. We are going to have trades, and I'm sure there'll be some people that we draft that we might be deep at a position and look to move along. But really looking forward to getting the files set up and getting the testing going and all that good stuff. Yeah, I haven't done Robbie's yet. I've got the list over here on Discord that was posted. I do have some. Let me just pull up. I haven't loaded players all in yet. I have mine done. Oh yeah, MV. It's cool. It's great. You sit around with that, and it adds a little bit of a random generator. You could also have your own league, right? And have some fun with it. Let me pull up and see my file right here. But here's the file I'm putting together for our players so far. Got a lot of these. I think I've got at least 80 or 90 players done, and all of my players are done. And I think I got through like the first 100 picks or so. So over the next week or two, I'll be kind of trying to build this out. I don't know if I'll have it completely done by the kickoff because I know Beatles has an all-player photo pack, but I really wanted to put something together nice that had similar logos to the Negro League player cards I've been doing. But here's Mike Scott. I'm trying to give 2, 3 options of pictures for players. Let me pull them up this way. It's probably easier to view. And let's go to view details, make them large. So you can see here some of these. Got Aaron Judge, a few photos of him. Beltray, got three of him. So I'm trying to get at least three pictures if I can. There's Alan Trammell, who's on Big Clues team. MV's talking about Cy Young. Got a few pictures of him. He's kind of on the fence. He does. I don't think he got the Cy Young season if he was choosing the one he wanted, but he had to make a decision. I think he's 1896 is the one he got, and he had to decide, well, do I grab him then or wait? And that's another piece of strategy. I know Beatles got Johnny Bench in 75 and took him because, do you wait and try to get a better Johnny Bench in 70 or 72? You don't know. Same thing with Willie Mays. I got 1962 thrown at me and there's Mays. I'm looking at him, Frank Robinson. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'll get another chance at Mays. I'm going to take him in 62. Same thing with Koufax um, in 65. Do I want a 66 Koufax or a different year? So this has just been, I think, loads of fun for a draft league. Couple more pictures of Cy Young, so you'll have a choice there, MV. Trying to think who else we have in here that's been interesting. I drafted a guy, I think in my second or third round, because I thought I was being clever. This may come back to haunt me. It's this man right here, Jim Turner. Um, I have him in 1937 for the Boston Braves his rookie season. And the reason I got him is I didn't want to use a Hall of Fame pick, use them all up early. And I thought, well, let me grab somebody that looked like a decent starter. In fact, I think he had one of the best ERA pluses in the entire league that year. So I'm like, let me grab this player that nobody else would probably want. And he's got that one season. He could be a definite starter on my staff. And then I started getting years of the pitcher 65 Koufax, 68 Gibson. And then it's like he became less and less relevant. So if I could go back in time, I'd go back to 1937 and probably take a solid, Hall of Fame shortstop, maybe an Archie Vaughan or something like that. So I know we'll all be sitting back at the end of our draft, no matter how good or bad we think it is, remembering the one we didn't get. So there's Jim Turner, and I can show you here on my team. Jim Turner's not bad at all. Look at this. He's got a whip just a hair over one. Let's take a look at his stats. I think 1937 is a great hitting year. So you look at this, a 155 ERA plus. That's really good. He's got 24 complete games out of the 30 he started, so he's got a lot of endurance, right? He can go the distance. And I thought, wow, let me grab this guy, Milkman Jim. Well, this one's the one that's been kicking me in the rear end here. Worried about that. But if I do look at some of my other pitchers, I am really happy. Tony Mullane, I picked up last night. I thought this guy's just a good swing pitcher that I can bring him into relief, long relief. Maybe somebody gets hurt. Because right now, or he might be my fifth starter. I don't know if I'm going to run a four-man or back and forth with a five-man where I skip the fourth every now and then, depending on the schedule. So there's a ton of strategy for us to think about as we set up lineups and coaching files and all that good stuff. Boy, this guy, look at this. Bob Gibson and Koufax right here. They're under 8.85 whips for them. And look at the strikeouts per nine. And then Mike Scott's 86 season. I forgot how good that was with strikeouts. So between Gooden, Scott, Koufax, and Gibson, just a high strikeout group to throw at people. Hey, Ken. Ken is here. Let's take a look at Ken Castro's team, of which there is none right now. But I can tell you one thing to show you how action is just so great at being able to assemble these rosters, what I'm doing right now. And I could pull up Discord here and get my main sheet. Yeah, midlife crisis is right. Like you take a 72 bench that was so far above their season they were in, above the average, you move them to a bigger hitting one, and they will get a little bit of a bump. So Let me open this in browser and take a look at all of these teams. And I'll start showing you my process for going through here and getting us all set up. And we can take a look here. We got, well, I'm still looking at the wrong one, but I think I've got it. So we got Ken Castro's team. Let's take a look at Ken. So here's Ken's team. You see starting right here, I'll be importing these here later. I hope tonight to get all the teams imported so we can start seeing them in the game. And I hope Beatles doesn't mind, but I thought, hey, let me start getting the league assembled and checking out settings and figuring out things so that we can vote on and figure out what options we want, and at least get it assembled and get a head start on that. But here's Ken's team. You can see he's got Bob Feller on there, some standout players. Mike Schmidt, who I don't know if that's his best season, but inside joke between Ken and I, it might be close. Ernie Banks, another great one. So you think about Hall of Fame picks. He's got one Hall of Fame pick right here in Pete Rose. He's got Ted Williams. Or I'm sorry, not Pete Rose. I'm talking about Ted Williams. Pete Rose wishes he was in there. Ernie. We got Mike Schmidt taking up one of those spots. You got Bob Feller. Um, One of the ones that stands out to me here, and I didn't even pay attention that he had drafted, was Suzuki. That's a great pick. Great pick right there. He's got Bryce Harper on that team. So we look at pitchers. He's got Joe Table up there in the bullpen. Saberhagen, Papelbon. Wow, what a team. Griffey in center. We got Ted Williams in there at left or DH, and Pete Rose. Got a lot of options here. Let's go take a peek at. So I'm going to pull this one over here, and we'll start dragging a couple in here and show you how easy this is for Ken. But it's just simple. If you got all the seasons like I do, let's go grab Ichiro and bring him in here for him. 2004, and just go down to 2004, and go over to Seattle, and then I say I want Ichiro right here. Boom. Let's bring somebody else in. Let's go to another season. Let's go grab Griffey Jr. in 97. So I can go down to 97. There's Griffey Jr. So we can take a look at it now. I could just keep importing here. So it's a little manual, but it's nice. I can go right to the year. Fairly easy to do. And then let's come over here. Now he's got two in here. So let's look at what he's got. Got a big hit in Griffey, and he's got a 10 in right field that's got a 414 on base percentage. So to your point, MV, um, really good. A 10 in right with a 10 arm that can bat 372 and get on base at that clip. So um, one of the best things, midlife's talking about the year we have and how we move them around and play them against each other. And this is why one of the best things to look at happens to be your ERA plus or your OPS plus, because it's going to take a look at your on base percentage and slugging comparable to um, where you put the numbers up. So you can see right here, Ichiro is uh, from 2004 and in Safeco, and it's showing us his OPS is 132, right? So not tons of power. Let's take a look at Ken Griffey Jr., 156 OPS. So, the higher that number is, you could see somebody that has more home runs, higher slugging percentage one year, but their OPS might be less because it's all comparable to the league numbers. So what else we got for Ken Castro here? Let's import a couple more of Ken's players. So we've got Feaster in 1907. Ooh, look at that. Feaster's coming in. See what else he has here. he's got Bob Feller in 1939. That's another interesting one. So let's take a look at 39. Cleveland Bob Feller. And we'll bring another one in to peek at since he's on here looking. How about Ted Williams 41? Who could pass that one up? So now we can start seeing them on here. So Bob Feller, strikeouts per nine. Let's see, here's Bob Feller's card. And don't pay attention to this. It's not reading the right stuff until we oh, we got the big unit. So we got the wrong thing coming in here. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Let me back out of this. Come back in. And here's Ted Williams. 406 that year. So look at this. Look at that OPS plus. 250. So there's somebody that's getting into that close to the Barry Bonds space. And I can tell you that I know Josh Gibson has a 222 OPS. So that's another big one that's still out there for rounds 24 and 25 when we draft Negro League players. But that's big. Not a great fielder at all, but hey, he wasn't he wasn't on the field for his range in left field. That I know. So see what else Ken's got coming in here. How about 1951 Pesky? So we've got a 1951 Johnny Pesky. Bring him in. Oh, 1980 Mike Schmidt. Let's see what he looks like on the roster. Mike Schmidt, we want him on there. And 1973, let's bring Pete Rose in. Take a peek here. Only got 13 more to get your team up to speed, Ken, but you can start seeing some of these take place and you can say, hey, he's got a Mike Schmidt with 48 homers, over 1,000 OPS, and he's a gold glove at third. So that's the other fun thing to see is the ratings and kind of look at your defense along with, building these lineups for scoring runs. Look at the runs created per 27 outs for Ted Williams. Incredible. Incredible. Yeah, no problem, Ken. I thought, hey, well, if I got some time, I'm going to help Beatles out. He's doing the lion's share of trying to broadcast and kind of herd the cats and get us doing that. But I thought, hey, let me start putting the file together, get the teams assembled. And if you're just tuning in, I did like a random draw and just set them up. We could change that later or do another draw, but this is what my random draw came in. It's the 2 16 divisions for our league. The 1973 NL schedule fits perfectly in our league to do 162 games. That'll be a blast. What else do we got? So we got Pete Rose looking good in left, Mike Schmidt. Who else we got to bring in for Ken Castro? How about Bing Miller, 1928 Bing Miller with the A's? What's weird, my wife would think I'm crazy, but I know based on the year and the player where to go get him. Because I am a baseball nerd, as she said. You're going to hang out with your baseball geek squad, is what she called us all the other night, which is entertaining. How about Bryce Harper, 2021? And let's bring one more in here for some viewing. Who else we got for him? We got Oh, how about Ernie Banks, 1960? Nice shortstop to have, and that's the one position I am hurting on right now. Ernie Banks, and here we go. Is starting to take for him, and look what Ken Castro gets, another Gold Glove. So let's look at the bats he has, and he's already got 3 Gold Gloves on the field, guaranteed. Right field, short, and third. So I think Ken's feeling pretty good about that. I think so. Um, 2007 Chase Utley. And what else we got? Hal Trosky, 1936. And I believe that he's an Indian. There he is. And let's grab one more while I'm building this out. About Brett Saberhagen in 1994. And where was he at? Is he out of Kansas City in 94, Saberhagen? Yeah, where was he? Is he New York, the Mets? Where the heck was he? There he is. Oh, Papelbon. Who else we got here? Billy Rhymes. Let's take a look at this team now. Now we're shaping up. Now we got 14 of your 21 there, Ken. You can start seeing it shaping up. I do not see Ken with a catcher yet. And I don't see Beatles with a catcher. So if we might want to, Beatles wants to tune in and watch this later. Maybe he already knows this, but oh no, he does have a catcher. It was MV is catcherless. And I know MV probably knows this. He's probably waiting, thinking he's going to get Josh Gibson, somebody like that. Yes, catchers are scarce, especially trying to get the really best seasons for those. On mine, I got lucky with Buster Posey actually, and then I picked up in 1904. I grabbed this Mike Grady. All right, Utah Mike's got his team is done. I'm gonna have to go and look at. Let me see. Oh yeah, he's done. So Sports Time Machine's got. I'll start putting his together. He's got Pete Alexander, Nolan Ryan, J.R. Richard, and some of his standout batters. I would say he's got Rudy York. The one person he's got there that is, I think, a hidden jewel is Ken Williams on his team. He's got Joe Mauer, a good catcher. So I'll be putting all our teams together tonight, hopefully. But here's a guy I'd never heard of. I grabbed Mike Grady because I said I need a good backup. And he's got a high OPS for 1904. Having an 850 OPS is very high. So I thought, hey, let me grab this guy. Not much behind the plate. He's got a 4 arm and he's a 3 rating. So he's definitely a guy to come in and put a bat on the ball and not, uh, you know, be there for their defense. But hey, it is what it is. Utah, Mike, let's start assembling your team. If nobody else has anything, I've got about 5, 10 more minutes. I can hang out here and do this. Sports Time Machine. Let's take a look. Some of his players here. Start bringing them in. 1915. This is the. I don't know if anybody else finds this very boring, but it's very therapeutic. I love doing it. Just bringing the players in. There's Pete Alexander coming in from 1915. If you guys are just tuning in, I'll let Beatles know I bought the seasons I didn't have in the 1880 to 1899 range today. And I thought it's a good, now I have all the seasons. And now I can start assembling the team for him and give him a little bit of a head start. 1979, J.R. Richard. And he's going to be right over here. And which Nolan Ryan does he have? 1973 Nolan Ryan. Yeah, if we play with fatigue, we'll have to talk about that and stuff. We have to have some backup catchers, which really does make it realistic. Who else we got? Jack Coombs in 1910. Oop, going the wrong way. Am I? Let's go to Jack Coombs. There he is. And let's see who else we're going to bring in here for him. Joe Mauer, 2012. Right here. And let's see who else we got. Oh, he's got Kyler in 1925. And I believe that's Pittsburgh, right? In 25. Yep. And he's got Rudy York, 1940 version of Rudy York. I'll bring one more in, then we'll take a look at what we've got here. Ken Williams, 1921. I think this is just a great pick of a non-Hall of Famer. And I'll bring in one more that I was a big fan of back in the day, Campaneris. Go to 72. And grab a shortstop, Campy. So now we're starting to see Sports Time Machine's team coming together. And you can see right here. So Campaneris is a 10 on the base paths and a 10 bunt. So nice stuff there. You can see you got Mowers a 6 catcher, but he's known for his bat, right? And then you can start seeing the fielding ratings come into play. So it is kind of a neat view as you start building the teams. I love doing this because it lets me, even though we were all part of the draft, I'm reminded who is the makeup of everybody's team. It's like, oh, I forgot that they had this person. Oh, that's pretty cool. Right here, look at this. Anything under 1 for whip is outstanding. But this guy, that might be the lowest whip of a starting pitcher in the league. In fact, I think it is. I think my Gibson and Koufax are 0.85. So this right here is the lowest I've seen so far. His ERA plus should tell us something. It's 237, which means it's 2.4 times above average. It's incredible. Hopefully, when I face Sports Time Machine, it won't. Alexander will have already been tired. I won't have to face him. That's what I'm hoping for. What else we got to bring in for him here? Mort Cooper, 1942. And let's take a look at some of his position players and see what these fielder. DJ LeMahieu. Oh, Felix Mantilla in 64. This is the guy I thought was a great pick because he can play so many positions, if I remember it right. And I believe he is a Milwaukee Brave. He's not. Where's Mantilla? Oh, help me out, somebody in chat. What team is Mantilla on in 64? Oh, there he is. And let's bring one more in. The Man Ram, 2008. Manny Ramirez. Let me see. He's not in Cleveland then, is he? It's got to be Boston. You can tell my weakness is more modern. There he is. Manny being Manny. We have Charlie King Kong Keller in 1946. And Larry Walker, 2002. Oh, is it LA right, Manny? No, 2008. Aha. So he's 2008 combined. So let me import. Let me see if I can get this to show up the right way. So yeah, we're going to have to go his combined, which will be, that's the one you want, the combined. Yes. Now I got you, Mike. Check this one out. This is the one you're expecting to see right here. He's over 1,000 now. We got you. I just had the one for Boston, so this is the combined one right here. Larry Walker's a 9 and your best fielder so far out there. 1911 Birdie Cree, we got that. Roger Connor, first base, 1988. Ed Daly, Charlie Ferguson, John Denny in 83. Let's go back to the teams. Oh, where's Denny? 1983 John Denny. Who the heck was he pitching for? Let me look. Oh, the Phils. There you go. There we go. So I'll start assembling these tonight as I get a chance to work on them. And then, as we get close, I just thought last night I couldn't sleep. I'm like, man, I need to start putting these files together. Let's get them assembled. Um, should be fun. And it's been fun for me to kind of take a peek at them and see where everybody's at. We've got 6 people viewing. It cracks me up sometimes when my eyes like, people actually care about this nonsense. I'm like, hey, there's a whole bunch of us that love this behind the scenes looking at rosters and watching me go and import players onto their rosters for sure. Yeah, nobody who counts Big Clue. So Big Clue is here. So Big Clue, do we want to take a look at your team? I've got your team built in. Let's take a look and see what you want to know. This is what it looks like in action. Um, we can search it. I think this is just a great view right here because you can see the positions you've got covered. Big Clue's got some great fielding. So let's not only is LaJoy a 426 hitter, but he's a 9 and an 8 for second and short. So this is what always stands out to me. He's got great hitting, but he's not giving up a lot in the field. I mean, you got Mike Tiernan, who's not great in the field, and you've got Bill Joyce here. But look at the folks that are going to start. He's got Dunlap, who's a gold glove at second. You got Del Crandall that he picked up Let's take a look at his arm. What's Crandall's arm here? Yeah, 6 arm, but I mean, you got a Gold Glover behind the plate, right? Camille, he's average at first, but it's kind of neat to see the teams now. Bando, average at third, but his OPS is probably pretty good for 69. 130s maybe? Oh, 158, better than I thought. So we have that. That's your team, Big Clue. Mickey Mantle in center field. Or DHing because he's got an 8 arm out there. This is the center fielder, I think, Tris Speaker. He probably didn't get the year he wanted for Tris Speaker, but hey, how do you pass this up? Great 389 hitting center fielder. Exactly, Big Clue. He's usually at 9, if not 10, depending on the actual data from the specific season. But yeah, how old is he right here? Let's take a look at his bio. Um, he's 37. Come on. He's a youngster, Big Clue. And he's got a 35-year-old Eddie Seacott here as well. So I really do like this tab, especially for a draft league like we have. This is a cool tab to come to just to be able to see the year and the park of where these folks came from and where their stats are related to. Lajoie. Starting pitchers also related relievers. You are going to have, well, Pedro Martinez, he relieved twice, so you could bring him in. Eddie Seacott, you can make him a reliever, right? Dean Chance he's got 11 games he relieved in that year. Tex Houston's got 4. So other than Matlack and DeGrom, every one of them, or in Santana, you've got several that have some relief appearances to go. What I'd say long or middle relief folks right there. This is a cool view right here. I was showing MV as you start looking at anybody under 1,000 or one solid number here is a great pitcher when it comes to not giving up walks and hits per inning pitch. Let's look at Sports Time Machine. He's got the lowest I've seen. He's got 2 pitchers that meet that category, but look at Alexander at 0.842. MV, he's got 3 of his pitchers in that category. Vida Blue, his best pitcher as far as whip that he just picked up recently. And Beatles has 1 that's under that, Catfish Hunter. And this is the strong part of my team. I think my entire staff's under 1 except for Jim Turner. So this is my strength so far when I look at my team is starting pitching. Well, and Liam Hendricks, this reliever who has this ridiculous .73 whip as a closer. Oh, Big Clue. It's horrible. So let's just take a look at this is their rating. The game kind of gives them, let's take a look at him right here. He's a 4 at second, so you're not getting any fielding prowess out of this guy. He's a little above average, 120 OPS, but he's batting 320 and he can lay down some bunts for you. He's a 10 sacrifice bunt rating, so. Oh. Let's see what other view. Got the boxes, manager. If we want to look so far, I won't show it because I don't have all the Sports Time Machine stuff in there. Or Ken's. Here's Ken's team I started putting together. I got 14 of his players on here, and he's got 1 player under a 1. That's Jack Feaster, and he's got some nice fielders right here. I have to say, if you see Schmidt at third and Suzuki and right, look at those 10. These are some 10 rated fielders that have bats. So It's a deadly duo combination. You can field and you can hit. And he's got Ted, and he's got Ted Williams. Yeah, it's made as I've it's as I go back. That's why I want to get these in here by tonight, and then when Beatles comes on tomorrow, whatever, maybe we can fire this thing up and you can start seeing how the rosters. And then what my plan is to do is just keep this file going. And as we draft the other night, I'll just start grabbing players and bringing them on as we draft so I can assemble as we go. That's going to be my goal. And that way it'll get us, instead of having, 4 or 5 days to do all this work and get them inputted, we'll keep this active while we draft. My batters, I'm a little worried at this right here, my shortstops. I got Browning, who kind of a part-time guy. Zobrist, who can back up the position, but that's the one that's kind of concerning me right now. Yeah, Clue, I was thinking the same thing. Let's take a look at Aaron's. Aaron Reed's taken over Clinton's team. Let's see what Aaron's picks are. And he's got some picks on here. You've got Old Hoss Radburn and Paul Molitor's there, and Whitaker, Fox, Minnie Minoso. But he's come in with the last picks of this Deion Sanders. Um, might be a hometown pick since he's a Reds fan, right? Glenn Hubbard at second base. Um, we'll see how this plays out. There's just so many possibilities until you see it assembled, um, and start setting up lineups and looking for strengths, right? Because you can have 25 great players, but you're only going to have 9 on the field at a time, or 10 with a DH. So, yeah, he's definitely a hometown favorite with the Reds. But yeah, this is my weakness. I've got 2 picks now, and I saw that I guess last night a couple of years I would have liked came up right when I made my pick and logged off. I saw. Hmm. So I really need. I've got to use that Hall of Fame pickup here in the next 2 picks, and if I don't get Walter Johnson or Mathewson, I think what I really need is a shortstop. Beltre, I'm fine with at third. Um, I've got Hornsby at second. I've got Klazuski at first. Was really surprised he was rated that year in 54 at a 9. And I got Mays in center, but I really, in these last 2 picks, I've got to lock down a shortstop. Or I go in and grab one in the Negro League draft. So I don't know. But I got to spend it on a Hall of Famer in the next 2. So Beatles keeps giving people bum info. Oh, Mathewson is drafted. I wonder who's got him. Let me take a look. Oh yeah, JT Dutch has him. That's a good thing. And I made the card too. I should have snapped on that he's not an option for me. Um, PQ Rivers got a ton of picks to do still, right? And he's got some interesting years. 60s in the 60s, couple in the 50s. Robbie's team, I'll have to get in here. Robbie's got a good team too with Lefty Grove and Roger Clemens, and he's got Cap Anson. Just such a cool approach this entire league is, because the variety is incredible and the fun with just trying to figure out strategy. It's just been crazy. So yeah, we'll be good on that clue, 100%. So, and I'll have to get the rest of these. So I think this afternoon, yeah, OPS at let's look at clues. I couldn't pass on him I got 1954. I think it was his best year overall. I mean, it's just crazy. See, here's a big clue. You've got this Bill Joyce with a 1.144. Look at this. 1894. This dude pounds 17 home runs. Uh, this guy might be a hidden jewel right there. And then you got Babe Herman with a 1.1. I think mine is going to be, yeah, Hornsby and Clue and Dick Allen, all right there. Mays almost right at 1,000. And I have used OPS quite a bit as far as determining who I wanted to go. What does my speed? I've got Harry Stovey here and Willie Wilson, which is nice. Let's take a look at Big Clue's speed. If we look at stolen, if you cycle by stolen bases, you've got Tiernan and I'd say Trammell up, even Babe Herman kind of decent speed. Nothing super great with the base running ability, couple sevens. A lot of OPS. So I know Clue and I draft very similar. He's looking at high OPS guys in some of these years he's been getting, and that speaks for itself right there. So I got to make sure I have pitchers that don't allow people on base and a lot of walks when. Well, if you're stuck with 87, Clue, who else do you go with that year? Boggs. He's the only one I can think of too, and it's an equal Hall of Famer that had a great year in '87. I think Boggs did, but it is funny being able to put these in here and dissect them a little bit. So I'm going to plink away on these. Yep, Hall of Fame and third base. Of course, you say that, but I'm trying to find any shortstop now. Let's take a look at who's left. Let's go over here, see if we can find these the right way. What's the best way to learn or see who the best shortstop? See what we got going on with Cecil Travis here. Eh, depends on the year I get, right? I mean, I know I've got Luke Appling, I've got Archie Vaughn. There's some shortstops out there if they pop up. Um, Travis Jackson. It just depends on the year, right? If I get something in the 70s, I mean, who do I grab in the 70s as shortstop? Concepcion. I mean, there weren't power hitting shortstops around in the 70s, but I could get a Gold Glover. Um, Ripken. I mean, do I grab one of the Ripken years? So I think as I look at these next two picks, do I take my gamble? Do I wait to the second pick and then just get stuck with a year and go for a shortstop? Do I mean I'm really at a point now where I just need to get that. Feel like I need to get a shortstop kind of on board. Yeah, Roger Peckinpah. And my Hall of Fame is still available. And you did, the Stuffy Sternweiss that you had me looking at during those war years with the Yankees could have been an option, but man, yeah, a lot of problems. This is what makes it such a fun draft, is we got all this stuff to think about. But anyway, I thought I'd get it set up this way. I'm getting the schedule together. I've imported the 73 schedule, which is set up for the NL, 6 in each division. So you can see it's already got our names lined up. I'll get rid of the AL games that would be in these placeholders here and just go with that. And give it a little head start. Yeah, let's go to the Negro League file. Let me go to the one that I made. It's called the Hank. So here's the file we'll be working off of for the draft if anybody wants to see this. I know MV hates sitting through details like this, so I don't know if he can bear with us, but these are the pools that I have set up. So if we run the random generator and it comes up 1903, we'll go to the 1900 to 1909 options, and here you go. We've got 34 total players to choose from. So if we look at shortstops there, here's a few to get. Pitchers, not all that many in that early part of the decade, but let's take a look at the whip. We've got some. Rube Foster's in there. Yeah, Toby Harris. So yeah, and then if you draw, let's say you draw a year 1910 to 1914. Once I get up here, we can start going by 5-year increments. Um, MV, big clue. Tell me what year you might like to get. So let's take a look at 1910 to 14. Pitchers, you got Cyclone Joe Williams there. He stands out as the best pitcher. Batters go by OPS. You got Spotswood, Pete Hill. On base percentage. So Pete Hill's a pretty good pick right there. Now, if we go 1915 to 19 years, our pitchers, you got John Donaldson. There's one of the favorite picks for MV. I just want Josh. Oh, yeah. I noticed MV has a spot open for him, a catcher. So MV, the numbers you'll want if you want to get Josh would be, I think, right, is it 35 to 39? Yep. You'll want to get a year 35 to 39. If you draw any one of those years, you'll come to this pool, and here's your options. And he is, look, 1.185 OPS. You can see 54 home runs. He's a monster that year. Another one that's interesting pick is look here at third base, a 10 rated third baseman. That's Felton Snow, somebody I didn't know a whole lot about before I started putting this thing together, but you got some good players there. Pitchers, 25 to 30. There we go, or 25 to 29. There's your pitchers. Andy Cooper, William Bell in here. And then we go to batters. OPS, you got 3 of them there. You got Charlie Smith, Turkey Stearns, Mule Suttles, Willie Bobo. I think that's somebody that MV threw out there for me to dig a little bit into. But there are some catchers. So if you don't get MV, let's take a look at catcher ratings. Some good catchers right here. You're going to need a backup, but these aren't bad catchers, right? 9.87 fielding, batting over 300. So you may not get Gibson, but there will be options. Um, early 20s. Let's go to the early 20s here. You got Oscar Charleston, who that might be a pick somebody could live with. I don't know what I'd do with Charleston, though, if I've got Willie Mays already. DH one. You got Heavy Johnson, Cristobal Torriente. Some good players right here. Blackwell. And if we cycle by catchers, because you got Biz Mackey and Bruce Petway, Sandtop. And let's take a look at if we draw anything in the 40s, this 40 to 48 range. I've got these players here to choose from. That biggest one being Buck Leonard right there. Larry Doby. Look at Monty Irvin, how valuable. He can play a ton of positions and a good batter. And interestingly enough, since nobody's drafted Roy Campanella in the major leagues, he's open to be drafted here. Pitchers, Let's take a look at Satch. Where is he? Is in 30 to 34? Yep, there's Satchel Paige. So definitely have a lot of fun stuff coming up. So when we get to that draft, it'll be a matter of, hey, what's the random number generate? And we'll go to the right slice here and get your pick. So I think everybody, probably the number one, everybody would love to get something between 35 and 39, because if they do, they're coming here and they're going to take Willard Brown. Oh, no, I'm sorry. They're going to take Josh Gibson. Let's see, 15 to 19. Who do we got here? Catchers. Oh, we've got Mike Gonzalez, who also played a lot, played in the MLB. Pearl Webster, interesting. And OPS here, not a ton of power right here on this file. We have 10 to 14. I think we go to 9. Is this where, trying to think where, there he is, looking for Pop Lloyd. He's on the 20 to 24 team. There's your best bet if you need a shortstop. 343 hitter and a 10 in the field. No shortage of all-time great. So I would imagine Pop Lloyd, depending on what the needs are, right? If you need a catcher, maybe somebody grabs Bismacky here. I think the other one is, let's see here, is I'm trying to think where Willie is. Willie Wells, looking for Willie Wells. Let me see if I can find, Sandtop is there. Why is Willie Wells gone? Let me see. So let's do this. Maybe I missed him. So let's go and get him in here. And there we go. Now we got Willie Wells. So I'm like, man, I know I'm missing one here. So if you get 25 to 29, you got some good shortstops here. Willie Wells with good OPS, no doubt, 149. So 24 of these Negro League players will be in the league, which is 14 more than MLB The Show is going to have. So here's Louis Santop. He will be there. So anyway, it's been fun. I'm going to run. I got to get to back to doing some real work, but I will be assembling the teams throughout the day when I get a chance, and this evening. And I'm enjoying doing it. And what's nice is we pick up that draft tomorrow night. I'll be able to, as each person makes their pick, just grab them and throw them on here and keep the file going. So it's been fun. Really enjoy this league. It's been a blast. And I can't sleep now because I keep thinking about player selection, covering my positions, all this good stuff. So, and I know I'm not the only one, part of the baseball geek squad that is geeking out over these rosters. So let's see. Yep, I think I got this one. So let me go back to the Bingo Draft League and I'll start adding some as I get a chance. So we'll catch you down the road a bit, everyone. And I know MV likes an abrupt ending, but I thought I'd say goodbye. But I'll see you again tomorrow night. Joss and Satch. So MV wants the combination. That's what he wants. He wants a 2-for-1 deal here. So it's all in Beatles and the random generator. So we will see.